Alex Mercer had always known humans were weird. It just took joining the Galactic Council's research vessel Harmonious Discovery to realize exactly how weird. You keep what as pets? Ambassador Krill's translucent appendages fluttered in what Alex had come to recognize as extreme distress. All four of the Thorian's eyes had dilated to their maximum aperture. Tarantulas, Alex repeated patiently, pulling up a hologram of his prized collection back home. This one's a Brazilian salmon pink bird-eater. Gorgeous, isn't she? Had her for 12 years now. The alien diplomat's skin, normally a pleasant lavender hue, blanched to an alarming shade of white. A small puddle was forming beneath them. Apparently Thorians expressed extreme fear through spontaneous moisture excretion. Alex made a mental note to add that to his xenobiology database later. But it's venomous. The translator struggled to convey the appropriate level of horror in Krill's voice. Only mildly, Alex shrugged. Their urticating hairs are more annoying than dangerous to humans. Now, my Australian funnel web, she's properly venomous, but very misunderstood. The puddle beneath Ambassador Krill grew larger. It had been like this for the 3 galactic standard months since Alex had become the first human zoologist aboard the Council's premier research vessel. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Council 8 years ago, and the novelty hadn't worn off yet. Every species seemed to find something utterly horrifying about humans, but nothing not the fact that humans regularly ingested ethanol for pleasure. Nor their bizarre habit of exercising to the point of physical pain. Nothing had caused as much interstellar concern as the revelation that humans kept venomous creatures as well as companions. Alex had been summoned to Captain Zrith's office 17 times already to explain this disturbing practice. The captain was a Novalian, a species of highly logical, 6-limbed beings with exoskeletons that gleamed like polished obsidian. They were known for their rational approach to all matters, which made their complete inability to comprehend human pet choices all the more amusing to Alex. Specialist Mercer. Captain Zrith's mandibles clicked in what Alex recognized as the Novalian equivalent of a long-suffering sigh. The Council has received another formal inquiry about human companion keeping practices. That makes 43 in total. Is that all? Alex grinned. I would have expected more by now. The captain's antennae twitched in annoyance. This is not a joke, Specialist. The Tralaxian ambassador has formally requested an emergency session of the Safety and Cultural Practices Subcommittee. They believe humans pose an imminent danger to the stability of the Council. Because we keep spiders as pets. Alex couldn't keep the incredulity from his voice. Because, Captain Zrith said with exaggerated patience, your species willingly cohabitates with creatures that can inject neurotoxins into your bloodstream. The very concept is causing psychological distress among several member species. Alex rubbed his temples. The shipboard gravity was galactic standard, about 0.8 of Earth normal, but right now his head felt 3 times heavier than usual. Captain, with all due respect, this seems like an overreaction. Humans have kept potentially dangerous animals for thousands of years. We understand the risks and take appropriate precautions. The Kendari representative suggested that humans might be lacking critical survival instincts. The captain continued, ignoring Alex's protest. The Proxians have proposed a theory that your species may have been neurologically altered by some ancient pathogen. We just appreciate biodiversity, Alex muttered, even the bitey, stingy parts. The Council has approved a formal investigation, Captain Zrith said, sliding a data tablet across the polished surface of their desk. You have been selected as Earth's representative to explain this practice to the assembled delegates. Alex picked up the tablet, scanning the mission parameters. His eyebrows climbed steadily higher with each paragraph. A full delegation? To Earth, to investigate why humans keep venomous pets. The Council takes the safety of all member species very seriously, Captain Zrith said. If humans are engaging in unnecessarily risky behaviors, we must understand why. So I'm supposed to, what? Give them a tour of exotic pet shops. You are to provide cultural context for this behavior and assess whether it represents a risk to interspecies harmony. The captain's tone suggested they found this mission every bit as ridiculous as Alex did. The delegation departs tomorrow. You will accompany them to Earth and serve as their guide and scientific advisor. Alex fought back a laugh. Somewhere in a galactic administrative office, someone had approved a significant budget to investigate why humans thought fuzzy spiders were cute. His tax credits at work. "Who's on this delegation?" he asked, scrolling through the manifest. Representatives from 7 council species, including both the most cautious and the most scientifically curious members. The Trilaxians insisted on sending their senior risk assessor. Of course they did. Alex sighed. The Trilaxians were notorious for their 11-stage risk evaluation protocols. They'd spent 3 years debating whether to allow humans to join the council, mostly because they couldn't categorize whether human laughter was a sign of aggression or not. "This is an opportunity, Specialist Mercer," Captain Zrith said, their tone softening almost imperceptibly. "Humans are still new to the galactic community. Many species don't understand your peculiarities. This is a chance to build bridges." Alex nodded, a slow smile spreading across his face. "You know what, Captain? You're right. If the Council wants to know why humans keep venomous creatures as pets, I'll show them. And maybe they'll learn something about humanity in the process." The captain's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. Just try not to cause an interstellar incident. The paperwork is excessive. As Alex left the captain's office, he couldn't help but feel a mixture of amusement and pride. His species might be the weird new kids in the galactic neighborhood, but at least they were interesting. And if a delegation of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations wanted to understand why humans cooed over creatures with deadly venom, well, this was going to be an education for everyone involved. He tapped his communicator. "Hey, Mom, remember how you always said my tarantula collection would never be useful? Well, funny story." The Galactic Council's chamber of harmonious discussion was anything but harmonious today. Delegates from 37 spacefaring civilizations murmured, clicked, whistled, and emitted pheromones in a cacophony of alarmed diplomatic discourse. Alex stood backstage, trying to ignore the knot of anxiety in his stomach. "Remember, Specialist Mercer," Liaison Officer Trelli whispered beside him. The Ventari was humanoid but with copper-toned skin that rippled like liquid metal when she spoke. "The key is to remain calm and avoid sudden movements. Several delegates are prey species on their home worlds. I'm presenting a slideshow about pet spiders, not juggling live cobras," Alex muttered, adjusting his formal diplomatic corps uniform. The stiff collar chafed against his neck. "The Zinthari representative brought their personal physician," Trelli continued, ignoring his comment. "They fear they might faint during your presentation." "Fantastic," Alex sighed. "No pressure." The chamber's resonant tones announced the beginning of the session. Grand Arbiter Vox, a towering 12-foot Praelian with glistening scales and what appeared to be infinite patience, called the assembly to order. Esteemed delegates, the Arbiter's voice boomed through the chamber without any apparent amplification. "We convene today to discuss the human practice of maintaining venomous organisms as companion creatures. This session falls under Protocol 5.3, Assessment of Potentially Hazardous Cultural Practices." Alex couldn't help but roll his eyes. They were treating his pet tarantula collection like a potential interstellar incident. "Our human specialist will now provide context for this practice," the Arbiter continued. "Please welcome zoologist Alex Mercer of Earth." Taking a deep breath, Alex stepped onto the circular platform at the center of the chamber. Hundreds of alien eyes, optical sensors, and sensory organs of indeterminate function all focused on him. The platform rose slightly, giving him the uncomfortable feeling of being an exhibit himself. "Honored delegates," Alex began, his voice steady despite his nerves. "Thank you for your interest in human companion animals. Today I hope to explain why humans sometimes choose venomous creatures as pets, and why this practice is both safe and culturally significant." He activated his presentation, and a holographic image of his prized Chilean rose-hair tarantula appeared above the platform, magnified to about the size of a hover car. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber, followed by what sounded like several bodies hitting the floor. This is Rosie, Alex continued, pretending not to notice the medical team rushing to assist the fallen delegates. She's a tarantula, an arachnid from Earth. While she possesses venom, it's approximately as dangerous to humans as a bee sting. Ambassador Krill's voice cut through the chamber. And you touch this creature? Voluntarily? I handle her regularly, yes, Alex replied, advancing to a hologram of himself with Rosie perched on his hand. In more gasps. More medical emergencies. But why? This came from the Tralaxian risk assessor, a being who resembled a very concerned sentient cactus. Alex smiled. That's the fascinating question, isn't it? Humans keep venomous creatures for many reasons. Scientific interest, appreciation of their beauty, the challenge of providing proper care, and simply because we form emotional bonds with them. Emotional bonds? With toxic creatures? The Zintari representative looked genuinely perplexed. Their translator couldn't quite convey the concept. Perhaps I should provide some context, Alex said, recognizing he needed to change tactics. Humans evolved on a planet where venomous creatures were common. We developed both healthy caution and respectful coexistence with such species. He advanced to the next slide, a historical montage showing human interaction with venomous creatures throughout Earth's history. Our relationship with these animals is as old as humanity itself. In many Earth cultures, venomous creatures were worshipped as gods or revered as symbols of power, Alex explained, indicating an ancient Egyptian hieroglyph depicting a cobra. The relationship between humans and these creatures has always been complex, a mixture of fear, respect, and fascination. The hologram shifted to show ancient snake handlers, then to modern reptile enthusiasts at exhibitions. Many delegates leaned forward despite themselves, clearly captivated even as they remained horrified. Roughly 12,000 Earth years ago, humans began domesticating animals, Alex continued. We started with creatures that provided food or labor, but eventually we formed bonds with animals that served purely companionship purposes. But why not select safer companions? Asked a Meribian delegate, their translucent body pulsing with genuine curiosity. Alex smiled. An excellent question. The truth is, most humans do choose non-venomous pets. Dogs, cats, birds, and fish are far more common as companion animals, but some of us have defective survival instincts, suggested the Tralaxian risk assessor, drawn to the unique challenges and rewards of caring for more specialized creatures. Alex finished, ignoring the interruption. My interest began when I was 10 years old. The hologram shifted to show a young Alex peering into a terrarium at a small jumping spider. Several delegates visibly recoiled. I found this little one in my grandmother's garden. Instead of fear, I felt curiosity. I wanted to understand how it lived, how it perceived the world. Alex's voice softened with the memory. My parents, recognizing my interest, helped me create a proper habitat for it. That was the beginning of my lifelong fascination. Fascinating psychological aberration, muttered someone in the back row. The translator didn't identify the speaker. It's not an aberration, Alex countered, his patience wearing thin. Humans have always sought to understand the dangerous parts of our world. It's how we've survived and thrived. He advanced to the next slide, showing statistics on venomous pet ownership. Less than 0.5% of human pet owners keep venomous species. Those who do typically undergo extensive training and maintain strict safety protocols. But accidents happen, exclaimed the Forian ambassador, still traumatized from their earlier encounter with Alex's holographic tarantula collection. Your safety measures cannot be foolproof. No safety measure is foolproof, Alex acknowledged, but responsible owners understand the risks and… Perhaps we should hear about a specific incident, interrupted Grand Arbiter Vox. I believe there was a situation that prompted this investigation. Alex winced. He'd hoped to avoid this part. Yes, Arbiter. 3 Galactic Standard months ago, during a diplomatic reception on the Harmonious Discovery, an incident occurred involving my personal data tablet. The chamber fell silent. Every delegate suddenly riveted. Alex took a deep breath. I had been reviewing my collection remotely, using live feeds from my habitat monitors at home. Ambassador Krill happened to glance at my tablet just as I was checking on my Brazilian wandering spider. The Forian ambassador made a sound like a deflating balloon. It was moving. She was simply exploring her enclosure, Alex explained. But yes, Ambassador Krill was startled and reacted strongly. The ambassador's distress pheromones triggered emergency protocols in 17 different species, the arbiter noted dryly. 3 diplomatic missions filed formal complaints. I've apologized extensively for the confusion, Alex said, feeling his face grow hot. But this incident highlights exactly what I'm trying to explain. The ambassador's reaction was based on an instinctive fear response, not an actual threat. My spider was thousands of light years away, safely contained in my home on Earth. Yet you carry images of these creatures with you, noted a draconian representative, their metallic scales glinting under the chamber lights. You derive pleasure from observing them. This is the behavior we struggle to understand. Alex nodded. That's why I've proposed the Earth expedition. If the Council truly wants to understand human relationships with venomous creatures, there's no substitute for direct observation. I've arranged visits to several facilities where delegates can see responsible ownership practices firsthand. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, some excited, others apprehensive. The Grand Arbiter's expression was unreadable as they considered the proposal. The Council has already approved the expedition, they finally said. What remains is to determine which representatives will participate. I volunteer, said an unexpected voice. All heads turned toward a small, luminescent being in the far corner, a luminary scientist, their body glowing with patterns that indicated intense academic interest. This behavior requires proper documentation. 3 days later, Alex found himself leading the strangest tour group ever to visit Terran Exotics, his colleague Milo's specialized pet store and sanctuary in northern Arizona. The shop's remote location had been chosen specifically to accommodate the alien delegation's need for privacy and minimal human contact. Welcome to Earth, Alex announced as the delegates disembarked from their shuttle. Please remember the environmental briefing. Earth's gravity is slightly stronger than galactic standard, and our atmosphere contains higher oxygen levels than some of you are accustomed to. And your solar radiation will burn through 3 of my epidermal layers, grumbled Dex, the Tralaxian risk assessor, adjusting a protective suit that made them look like a walking cactus wrapped in aluminum foil. Hence the radiation shields, Alex replied cheerfully, gesturing to the canopy that had been erected from the shuttle to the building entrance. Everyone ready? The delegation consisted of 7 representatives, Krill, the unfortunate Forian ambassador who'd started this whole situation, Dex, the perpetually concerned Tralaxian, Lumina, the enthusiastic luminary scientist, Grax, a stoic draconian cultural observer, Zip and Zap, twin Meribians who moved and often spoke in perfect synchronization, and finally Vroon, a Novalian biologist who'd insisted on joining for objective documentation. As they approached the building, a tall, lanky human with a shock of bright red hair burst through the doors. He wore a vintage t-shirt bearing the faded image of a cobra and the words "Danger Noodle Enthusiast." "There's my favorite extraterrestrial entourage," he called out, spreading his arms wide in welcome. "Delegates, this is Dr. Milo Rodriguez, Earth's leading expert on ethical venomous pet care," Alex explained, noticing how several aliens subtly retreated behind their colleagues. "Just Milo is fine," he said, grinning widely. "Doctor makes me sound respectable, and we can't have that." He leaned closer to the group and stage whispered, "Also, technically I'm only a doctor in herpetology. If you need surgery, I'm absolutely your worst option." The aliens stared at him blankly. "That was humor," Alex explained quickly. "Human humor often involves suggesting alarming scenarios that aren't actually going to happen." "Fascinating." Lumina's body flashed with patterns of academic interest. "You use potential danger as a bonding mechanism." "That's actually not wrong," Milo admitted, looking impressed. "Anyway, welcome to Terran Exotics. We've prepared a specialized tour that will gradually introduce you to our venomous residents, starting with the mildest and working our way up to the spicy boy." "The what?" Krill's translator struggled with the term. The more dangerously venomous specimens, Alex clarified. Milo has a unique terminology system. It's too short for boring language. Milo shrugged. Now, before we go inside, any questions? Rex raised a spiny appendage. What emergency protocols are in place should containment be breached? Every habitat has triple redundancy safety systems, Milo explained, suddenly serious. The building itself is a containment system. Each room is isolated, and we have anti-venom supplies for every species on the premises. We've been doing this for 15 years without a single serious incident. 15 years is an insufficient data sample for risk assessment, Dex muttered, but followed along as Milo led them inside. The first room was designed to ease the delegates into the experience, a climate-controlled space with elegant terrariums lining the walls, each containing a small, relatively harmless venomous creature. We'll start with jumping spiders, Milo announced, stopping before a habitat containing what looked like a tiny, fuzzy ball with 8 eyes and legs. Technically venomous, but completely harmless to any being larger than a fruit fly. Lumina floated closer, their glow intensifying with interest. It's rather aesthetically pleasing. Right? Milo beamed. Look at those eye patterns, those fuzzy little legs. That's the gateway drug of the exotic pet world right there. Drug? Vroon's antennae twitched in alarm. Figure of speech, Alex explained quickly. He means this is how many humans begin their interest in arachnids with these smaller, less intimidating species. As the delegates cautiously approached the display, Zip and Zap synchronized perfectly as they leaned in for a closer look. What is it doing now? They asked in unison. She's curious about you, Milo explained as the tiny spider moved to the edge of the enclosure, seeming to study the aliens studying in her. Jumping spiders have excellent vision and complex brains for their size. They're actually quite intelligent. Intelligent? Grax, the draconian, spoke for the first time, their metallic scales shifting with interest. You attribute cognitive capacity to these primitive organisms? Relative to their size, absolutely, Milo replied, tapping gently on the glass. The jumping spider responded by raising its front legs in a display that almost resembled a wave. They can solve puzzles, recognize individual humans, and even display preferences for certain colors or environments. And this intelligence is why humans form attachments to them? Krill asked, still maintaining a safe distance from the enclosure. Alex smiled. Partly, we tend to connect with creatures that show responsiveness, but honestly, most humans just think they're cute. Cute. The aliens' translators all struggled with the concepts simultaneously. Aesthetically appealing in a way that triggers protective instincts, Alex explained. It's subjective, but many humans find small creatures with disproportionately large eyes endearing. Like your infants, Vroon noted clinically, an evolutionary response mechanism. Sort of, Milo agreed. Though I doubt our ancestors evolved to find venomous spiders cute. That's more of a modern human quirk. Coo. They moved through the room, the aliens gradually relaxing as they observed progressively larger arachnids without incident. Milo was in his element, describing each species with an enthusiasm that even the most cautious delegates found themselves responding to. And here we have my personal favorite starter tarantula, the Mexican red knee, Milo announced, stopping before a habitat containing a striking black spider with vibrant orange-red sections on its legs, beautiful, docile, and with very mild venom. You handle this one? Zip and Zap asked in perfect unison. Regularly, Milo confirmed. Would you like to see? Before anyone could object, he opened a small access port in the habitat's top and gently coaxed the tarantula onto his hand. The delegation collectively gasped and retreated several steps. It's completely safe, Milo assured them, the large arachnid now perched calmly on his palm. She knows me. I've had Frida here for 7 years. You name them? Lumina pulsed with fascination. Of course, Milo replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She's part of the family. Rex's protective suit made an alarming wheezing noise that Alex recognized as the Tralaxian's respiration system working overtime. Family? A venomous arachnid is categorized as kin. Family doesn't always mean genetic relation for humans, Alex explained. It can refer to any being we form deep bonds with. Hey. Would anyone like to try holding her? Milo asked brightly. The resulting exodus to the far corner of the room was so rapid that Alex worried about structural damage to the building. Maybe we should move on to the next exhibit, he suggested diplomatically. As they were preparing to enter the reptile room, a small commotion erupted near the jumping spider enclosure. Krill let out a high-pitched squeal that the translator didn't even attempt to interpret. What's happening? Alex rushed over, heart racing. It escaped. Krill was frantically pointing at the empty habitat, moisture pooling beneath them in distress. The creature is free. Milo quickly assessed the situation, the ports still sealed. She couldn't have. There, Zip and Zap synchronized their pointing at a tiny movement on the floor. The jumping spider, no larger than a fingernail, was making its way across the polished concrete. What happened next would later be described in 17 different and contradictory official reports to the Galactic Council. From Alex's perspective, it was a cascade of chaos. Krill released a cloud of panic pheromones that triggered Dex's protection suit to deploy an emergency bubble shield. The bubble expanded rapidly, knocking over Grax, who reflexively extruded metallic defensive spines. One spine punctured Vroon's data tablet, causing it to emit a high-frequency pulse that made both Zip and Zap temporarily lose physical cohesion, their usually solid forms becoming gelatinous puddles that spread across the floor. Lumina, attempting to help, increased their bioluminescence to maximum intensity, temporarily blinding everyone in the room. And in the midst of it all, the tiny jumping spider, the inadvertent catalyst of this interstellar incident, calmly climbed up Milo's pant leg and perched on his shoulder. Found her. Milo announced cheerfully as vision began to return to the room. No harm done. Alex surveyed the aftermath, alien diplomats in various states of distress, thousands of credits in damaged equipment, and Milo standing in the center with a triumphant smile and a tiny spider companion. Perhaps, Alex suggested weakly, we should break for lunch. Lunch was a tense affair in the specially prepared diplomatic dining area. The aliens ate their nutritionally calibrated meals in uncomfortable silence, while Alex and Milo exchanged worried glances. The jumping spider incident had significantly set back their diplomatic efforts. I believe, Vroon finally announced, mandibles clicking with formal precision, that this experience has provided sufficient data to conclude our investigation. Humans keep venomous creatures because they lack appropriate danger assessment capabilities. That's not fair, Alex protested. One minor incident with a completely harmless spider. Minor? Krill's translator couldn't quite capture the incredulous tone. Ambassador Zip and Ambassador Zap are still solidifying. The twin Meribians, now mostly returned to their proper form, wobbled slightly in agreement. I think we're missing the larger picture. Lumina interjected, their glow pulsing thoughtfully. Humans demonstrate a remarkable capacity for forming symbiotic relationships with potentially dangerous organisms. This suggests an evolutionary advantage. A piercing alarm cut through the conversation, causing everyone to freeze. Red lights began flashing throughout the facility. That's the perimeter breach alert, Milo said, suddenly serious. All traces of his usual light-heartedness vanished as he pulled out a secured communicator. Control room report. A human voice crackled through the device. An unidentified organism detected in Sector 7. Non-terrestrial. Thermal signature suggests it's big and moving fast. The alien delegates exchanged panicked glances. Non-terrestrial. Alex turned to the delegation. Did something come with you from your ship? Impossible, Dex declared. Our containment protocols are flawless. Grax, however, had gone very still, their metallic scales shifting to a dull gray. Unless they began, then stopped. Unless what? Alex pressed. The research specimen, Grax admitted reluctantly. The Council Science Division had a secure containment unit aboard our vessel, for study purposes only. What kind of specimen? Milo demanded. Before Grax could answer, The security system displayed a grainy image on the nearest screen. Something large and multi-limbed was moving through the storage area, knocking over equipment with casual strength. That's a Kragaxis hunter, Vroon identified immediately, native to the methane swamps of Regal Ix. A highly aggressive territorial predator. And extremely venomous, added Lumina, their glow dimming with concern. You brought a venomous alien predator to Earth. Alex couldn't keep the incredulity from his voice. While investigating us for keeping venomous pets. It was properly contained. Dex protested. Triple redundancy systems. Sound familiar? Milo muttered to Alex. Louder, he asked. How dangerous is this thing to humans? Unknown, Vroon replied with scientific detachment. No human has ever been exposed to Kragaxis venom. Theoretically, it would cause rapid neural degeneration followed by complete molecular breakdown of organic tissue. Wonderful, Alex groaned. The Kragaxis has one significant vulnerability, Grax offered. It's highly susceptible to its own venom. That's why they're solitary hunters. Even minor contact with another of their kind can prove fatal. A plan began forming in Alex's mind. Milo, do you still have that Australian inland taipan in quarantine? Milo's eyes widened. Trixie? Yes, but, oh, I see where you're going with this. That's either brilliant or suicidal. What are you suggesting? Krill asked nervously. Australian inland taipans have the most toxic venom of any terrestrial snake, Alex explained. If alien venom works on a similar molecular principle, it might affect the Kragaxis. You want to fight venom with venom? Lumina's body flashed with what appeared to be scientific excitement. A fascinating approach. It's too dangerous, Dex objected. The risk calculation exceeds acceptable parameters by 87.3%. We don't have many options, Alex countered. The facility's automated defenses weren't designed for alien predators. Another crash from the security feed showed the Kragaxis moving closer to their location, smashing through a reinforced door, as if it were made of paper. I can extract venom from Trixie, Milo said, already moving toward the secure hepatology section. But we'll need a delivery system. I might have a solution, Lumina offered, floating forward. My species can project energized particles over short distances, if I can contain the venom within my emission field. Alex nodded. It's worth trying. Vroon, you and Grax help Milo with the extraction. Your exoskeletons give you the best protection if something goes wrong. Krill, Zap, stay here where it's safe. Dex, your environmental suit might provide useful sensory data. To Alex's surprise, the aliens moved to follow his instructions without argument. Perhaps there was something to be said for humanity's experience with dangerous creatures after all. And what will you do? Grax asked. Alex grabbed a capture pole from the emergency equipment locker. I'm going to make sure our uninvited guest stays focused on me and not on all of you. The showdown. The storage facility's emergency lighting cast long, ominous shadows as Alex moved forward, capture pole gripped tightly in sweating hands. Each step echoed on the concrete floor, despite his attempts at stealth. This is insane, Dex whispered from behind. The Tralaxian's environmental suit emitting soft beeps as it analyzed the surroundings. The creature's mass is approximately 3 times yours. The probability of successful containment, 12.4%. Thanks for the encouragement, Alex muttered. Just keep scanning and let me know if. A tremendous crash interrupted him as a storage cabinet flew across the corridor, smashing into the wall mere inches from his head. In the newly created gap stood the Kragaxis hunter. Alex had seen the grainy security footage, but nothing prepared him for the reality. The creature stood nearly 8 feet tall, with 6 powerful limbs arranged asymmetrically around a central mass. Its exoskeleton gleamed with an oily iridescence, and what passed for its head contained multiple sensory organs arranged in no pattern Alex could discern. Most alarming were the twin appendages that curved forward from its upper body, each ending in a barbed protrusion that dripped viscous fluid onto the floor. Venom glands, Dex whispered unnecessarily. A highly pressurized delivery system. The Kragaxis turned toward the sound, moving with surprising grace for its size. A low vibration emanated from it, whether a form of communication or a warning, Alex couldn't tell. Alex. Milo's voice hissed through his communicator. We've extracted Trixie's venom, and Lumina's ready. Where are you? Sector 7, East Corridor, Alex replied quietly. And I've made contact with our visitor. We're 2 minutes out. Don't do anything stupid. Define stupid, Alex mumbled as the Kragaxis took a step toward him. He raised the capture pole defensively. The creature paused, seeming to assess the pole with genuine curiosity. Then, with movement so fast Alex barely registered it, one limb lashed out and snapped the carbon fiber pole in half. New plan, Alex announced, backing away slowly. I'm going to lead it to the containment room. Of Lumina, meet me there. The Kragaxis followed Alex's retreat with predatory focus. Each step it took forward matched his backward pace exactly, an unnerving display of hunting intelligence. It's herding you, Dex observed. This species typically corrals prey toward natural barriers before striking. Super helpful information, Alex said through gritted teeth. Maybe analyze less, help more. The Tralaxian hesitated, then suddenly launched a small sphere from their environmental suit. The device erupted in a blinding flash directly in front of the Kragaxis, causing the creature to recoil with an undulating screech. Sensory overload device, Dex explained, temporary effect only. Alex seized the opportunity, turning to sprint down the corridor toward the reinforced containment room. The sound of multiple limbs scrabbling on concrete told him the creature was in pursuit. He burst through the doorway of the containment chamber to find Milo, Vroon, Grax, and Lumina already in position. The Luminari floated in the center, their body pulsing with an unusual blue-green light that concentrated around a small vial of amber liquid Trixie's extracted venom. It's right behind me, Alex gasped. Ready? Theoretically, Vroon replied. We have no empirical data on cross-species venom compatibility. Less science, more action. Milo urged as the doorway darkened with the Kragaxis' massive form. The creature entered cautiously, its sensory organs sweeping the room. When its attention fixed on Lumina's glowing form, it reared up in what appeared to be a pre-strike position. Now, Alex shouted. Lumina's glow intensified blindingly as they projected the contained venom forward in a concentrated stream. The glowing particles struck the Kragaxis directly on what passed for its chest, sizzling on contact with its exoskeleton. For a moment, nothing happened. The creature seemed more annoyed than injured, one limb wiping at the impact point. It didn't work, Grax stated flatly. But then the Kragaxis shuddered. A ripple passed through its body, and the iridescent sheen of its exoskeleton began to dull. It attempted to move forward but staggered, limbs suddenly uncoordinated. The venom's affecting its neural pathways, Vroon observed with scientific detachment. Fascinating cross-species compatibility. The creature emitted a low, vibrating sound that somehow conveyed distress, even without any recognizable vocalization. It sank lower, limbs folding awkwardly beneath it. Is it dying? Krill asked from the doorway, where the ambassador had appeared despite instructions to stay behind. No, Alex said firmly. It's just immobilized. The Taipan venom isn't fatal to something this size, it's just enough to subdue it. He turned to Grax. How do we properly contain it for transport back to your ship? The Draconian looked at Alex with what might have been respect. You could have killed it. Most species would have. That's not why we have venom extraction skills, Milo said, already preparing a stabilization chamber. We study dangerous creatures to understand them, not eliminate them.